say thank you for, coming into this space and place with us and sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. And yes, so, I mean, even for me, I am a little bit older, and then of course I have Invisalign in now. And so this
I
was
hear the lisping.
I know, and they're pretty recent, so I'm adjusting. But this really fascinated me because because we all want a really great smile, and we all really connect to that in some sort of way. But before we get to kind of how to get that smile, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what a smile means and how important it is for confidence and the happiness of an individual to have a really great one.
It's so important. It's funny because I just got a case in, and she's a woman, she's 60, and she went to 5 different prosthodontists, and everybody thought she was crazy. And they gave her temporaries that were horrible. And I didn't have time at the beginning because it was just right before the holiday break. So I hand sculpted as best as I could, like in an hour and a half. She sat next to me in my lab, and I just did my magic. And she goes, "Oh my God, it's like I feel like a different human being." It's so important to get the right smile, and it really does change people. It really does. It's first of all, it's the first thing that people look at, right? When they meet you, the first thing that they look at is your smile, and that's a fact that was written in. It wasn't the Wall Street Journal. It was USA Today. It was a whole article on that. I have it somewhere. But the first thing that people look at is obviously your face, and the smile is the first thing. So it's really important that you have a great smile, especially for self-confidence, for job interviews, for everything. Like, nobody wants to look with dark teeth and raggedy, crooked teeth or occlusion. I'm not going to go into, I'm so sorry. Welcome to doing this on a cell phone. Other people start WhatsApping you.
Well, and just so we know, occlusion is being able to have a correct bite.
Correct.
Right? You probably know that, Amy, because if you have the Invisalign. So, but I so agree, and I'm just going to chime in real quick, and then I'm going to shut up. But I really think that when I see people, when they're talking and then they're really attractive, or they're really charming, and then they laugh at something and they go, "Oh," right? You see that all the time because they're afraid of, they're self-conscious of either they had maybe antibiotics or something as a younger child, or they need braces, or they have, their teeth are misaligned, or they don't, they're embarrassed of their smile. So they're always doing that. And nobody should feel that way. If possible, there should be, a solution to that, even if it's just getting bleach trays or something.
Oh, absolutely. It all depends what it is. But even, like, for example, people don't understand, like we were discussing earlier about juicing. Like, now it's January, ladies. All right. So I don't know if we're going to time ourselves with this or not. But you know how in January, everyone is like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to go on a diet because I ate so much on the calories over the holidays." And I'm like, okay, people don't realize that the green juices, natural teeth, OMG. The green juices, they're doing the beet juices, they're doing, like, they're doing all these
Blueberries
juices, blueberries and protein shakes and stuff. That stuff is so bad in terms of discoloring your teeth, more so than coffee and tea, which tea is the worst. Coffee is number 2. I have to personally say, from my years of experience, that the juices are the worst.
So what do you drink your juice from a straw?
Yeah, I was going to say, so if you are a juice, someone who does juice, what do you do to counteract that or mitigate the damage?
Well, 2 things. A, drink, Kelly got it, drink through a straw. And B, brush your teeth after you, even if you drink through a straw, it can still go a little bit out. So my recommendation is keep a toothbrush at the office, keep a toothbrush wherever you are in your bag. Just go and use any kind of whitening toothpaste. So we've got Colgate Optic, we've got now Crest came out with one as well that I'm just trying out. There's some other brands out there that have some really great make sure that it has hydrogen peroxide in it is the bottom line. Once it has hydrogen peroxide, it will just bubble out all the stains that you have on your teeth. But that's really important in January, because in January, people are doing all these like juice cleanses and, oh my God, I'm going to get my liver back. And right, but you're destroying your teeth to get your liver healthy. So it's all a really good balance. So as long as you know, use a straw and brush, we're good.
What about lemon water? People
You know,
drink
we
a lot of lemon.
gotta be like, you gotta be really careful with lemon, because I love lemon water. Don't get me wrong. I'm really a big fan of it, but I like it personally. You have to be very careful with it, because even though it is alkaline, it's alkaline in your stomach and it's not alkaline on your teeth.
Right.
So you will see that a lot where patients will get enamel erosion and you're like, why? Oh, because I'm sipping lemon water all day. I'm like, you can't be doing that. You're melting your enamel. So it's a very slippery slope. Is it okay to put a slice of lemon in your Pellegrino or fizzy water? Absolutely. Is it okay to be sipping lemon juice and water 24/7? Not so much.
Or no biting lemons.
Oh, well, that should have been an XANA from the beginning. Yeah.
So what other fads trends are happening right now that are maybe a no-no? I know that the charcoal is out.
Oh, don't get me
It's
started.
out. Oh
Don't
gosh.
get me started. Kelly, don't.
Get her started.
Tell
Give
her
it
not
it
to.
to
I
us
mean,
straight.
why would you want to put black charcoal on your teeth? Okay. How in heaven's name is that going to lighten up? I mean, common sense. Okay. Forget about that. You have to be in the business, not in the business. If you are blonde, okay, the three of us are blonde. Okay. If we're going to go and put charcoal on our hair, how is that going to clean our hair? It's going to make our hair black, right?
Not pretty. Not going there.
Won't be a
Right,
pretty shade.
exactly. And we're paying a lot for our highlights. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is, I don't know where that started. And the other thing that started, which was another, like, don't get me started, was with the oil pooling. How in heaven's name is
Tell us a
oil?
little bit more about that one, just in case people
I
aren't.
don't know about that one either.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it was like, I think I've written, I don't even know how many articles on this in the last 3 to 4 years. Coconut oil rinses, clean your teeth. Okay,
Oh,
you have, all right, so the description goes really simple. All right, you eat carbohydrates, best example, okay? Carbohydrates, when you chew it, it turns into a paste, right? That paste stays as a layer on top of your teeth. Okay, the only way you get rid of that layer is mechanically brushing it with toothbrush, and in between using floss or the interproximal brushes. Okay, so we got what happens. Then when you leave it on your teeth, the carbohydrates turns into sugar, sugar turns into acid, acid breaks down and starts eating away at your enamel or dentin, depending how far, erosion you have. So all of this said, how are you going to take 2 tablespoons of oil and clean your teeth? I'm like, whoever came up with this trendy nonsense has got to have some accountability. How in heaven's name? So the new thing was charcoal and coconut. I'm like, no. I mean, you want to make a blended drink, maybe, but do we want to consider that as, honestly being able to clean the smear layer and everything that gets left on your teeth? No, it's impossible. So now the pooling, and it's all these hippy dippy kids that think that, oh, we're going back to the good old days. Okay, we're not going back. We didn't have coconuts 400 years ago. Okay.
Even in the hippie days, no hippies were using charcoal on their teeth.
Right. Baking soda, I can understand using it. If you run out of toothpaste, I can understand it does clean your teeth to a certain extent. It doesn't have a detergent in it like the rest. I mean, it's not detergent, but you know what I mean, like a intraoral detergent where it is like the rest. That's fine. Use that as a backup. But for God's sakes, you're gonna put black stuff on your teeth to whiten?
I'm not even going to go there. I completely agree with you because my sarcasm is going to come out. So I'll just leave it as that.
Bring it on.
So it's hard, right? As a consumer, we have, of course, a plethora of choices. We have social media, at our disposal at any given moment in time. Depending on whom you are, you see the dentist at least, a couple of times a year, if not more, depending on what you're doing. So how can you really get the skinny on how to have a great smile? Like, how can you cut through all the noise and really know what you're doing is right for you in your smile and your teeth?
I mean, I really do believe that when you're starting to read this, because there's a lot of hippy dippy online present magazines like Pop Sugar and what's the other one? God, I've written for them. I'm blanking out. Anyway, this is it's Friday. So they're all on and they get all these new trendy stuff from all the young girls, but it doesn't work. So if you're going to read something like that, then what you need to do is Google it and just Google pros and cons. And then you'll get people like me who actually write for the magazines who turn around and say, it's virtually impossible to whiten your teeth with charcoal. Impossible. It's like trying to go blonde without any bleach.
Yeah.
How is that possible? And I'm like, my big thing is I love my analogies, and so the layman can understand. How are you trying to get something white? It's like if you have a stained t-shirt, if you wash it in charcoal, it's not going to get whiter. If you put bleach on it, it'll get whiter, but not if you put charcoal on it. So that's that whole, I mean, I'm hoping that whole bad fad will go away eventually.
I have an idea as to why some of these trends go viral and people start to, get interested in them, or they go viral. The reason I think is because of clickbait. If you have something super outrageous and it has it on someone's website, clean your teeth with charcoal. They're going to click on it. And then, maybe they are trying to sell a product that has charcoal in it, but it's just people clicking through because they're curious. And then that seems to go viral, right? And so hence the reason there's so many misnomers in cosmetic dentistry and with just about everything, because there's always somebody who's this, brainiac saying, let's put this really outrageous thing on this website so we get traffic.
Yeah, and you would think that really what this should do is open up the line of communication and the relationship that the consumer has with their dentist or orthodontic or the cosmetic, right? You would think that they would have much more of that relationship to be able to take a deeper dive into, this is what I'm trying to do, is this good for me or not? Ask those questions, ask those curious questions. Is it
absolutely?
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree with you guys. I mean, it's just like, it's like any fad, guys. Like if you're going to go in and like, oh, take this pill, you're going to lose 100 pounds in a month. Really? The only way things really work is through hard work. And something has to physically work. So in this sense, you've got the hydrogen peroxide when you're using, teeth whitening products, but charcoal is not it. And then there's the other miscommunication, I think, and Kelly's aware of this as well, that's really important, is on all of these websites where they're making points where they're saying that, oh yeah, that this is like this. There's a very big difference between a stain remover and a tooth whitener. So every toothpaste that we have out on the market pretty much removes stains, right? Because that's what toothpaste is supposed to do. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to lighten your teeth. And they'll write stuff on there like, oh, 2 shades lighter, it'll whiten your teeth. It's not. It's just removing the stains. excuse me, in order to get your teeth whiter, it's like bleaching your hair. You have to open up the cuticle of the hair. In our situation, we have to open up the enamel rods, which are the pores of the teeth. You open them up, peroxide goes in there, and it bubbles out all the color. Just like hair, like when you do highlights, right? It's the same principle. How can charcoal do that? Like, I'm sorry.
So you give a lot of, I think, sprinklings of what people can use. Like I think you mentioned Colgate, Optic White. That's one that is yes, maybe
Yeah.
one to try.
Well, yeah, there's like 3 of them. There's Aura's really good. I mean, they've got great products. I've used them. I just got samples of every, you can use the one with the light for 30 minutes. They have everything from 40% on down. You can use the Crest White strips. Obviously, they're still working. And Colgate's trying to come out with, you have to look and see what the concentration really is. I think that Aura and Colgate are probably the top 2. Colgate hasn't quite gotten there yet. They're kind of like dabbing in it and not really.
They're not
But
committed.
those are at home, or you come to see us, you can have the laser, which is done, you know, in an hour. You can go up to 12 shades, obviously a lot more expensive, or you can have custom trays done. Like Kelly was saying, you know, we get custom trays, you put gel in there, you're good. But again, everyone has to understand whether you do the Crest White strips, whether you do the Aura, whether you do the trays, or whether you do the laser whitening. What I tell everyone, 72 hours, if it stains a white t-shirt or if it stains a white tablecloth, do not put it in your mouth. I don't care who you are, because everybody's enamel rods are different. Some people close in 24 hours. Some people close in 48. Some people don't close for 72 hours. So it's best if you just maintain from eating color, especially if you've gone through the process, you've paid the price. Now you want to maintain it. You don't want to go and go, oh, ooh, it's 48 hours. Let me have a cappuccino. Because if those rods are open, it's going to go right in.
Yeah.
And then you're
So
going to be a
everything that you've
brunette.
done is for nothing. So I personally think, and this is just my opinion, and it means, you know, it's take it or leave it. But I think that if somebody really wants to get their teeth whiter, that they should go to their dentist and really look at the, you know, it's not just dabbling in some of the things over the counter, because I think you can spend so much over the counter, and then by the time you really go to your dentist, you could get something that's really going to work for you, right? Or at least ask the right people, like Dr. Pia, and that she'll direct you in the right, you know, into the right product. Because there's people that think they overthink it, or they have bigger expectations of something, right? And then it ends up being just a waste. So you're better off just to engage with your dentist. But make sure that you're asking the right questions, because you also, and I'm not saying that implying that dentists do this or they don't do this. It's just that you have to be clear on what you want. Like, I really would love to have my lower teeth lighter, right? So that would be a tray, and, you know, having that, right? So it's not about going in and having a whole mouth restructure. It's just about getting your teeth whiter, right?
No, I agree. And the other thing that I want to just, you know, interrupt for a moment. When Crest White strips, guys, when they came out, they were $14.99. They're $67.
Oh,
Oh,
They're
wow.
there's nothing under 50. They go even up to like $74.
that is
So
crazy.
my point is, and it's the same strips, right? So they realize that there's an up market, and they realize that they could raise it. But as Kelly was saying, if you want to do trays, I mean, I don't think that anybody is above $500 for trays. I really don't. I mean, not even myself. I mean, we don't. And then, you know, you also get, not only do you get the trays, but you get the actual professional grade whitening gel, which comes in various different concentrations. You can do the weaker if you have sensitive teeth of 18, 15, 18, then there's, 30, 35. So 40, it all depends on how much your teeth can stand, right? Because everybody has different threshold of pain. Everybody has different sensitivities. So you kind of find your little sweet spot. But, and then you have approximately 2 year supply, right? With the gel, Kelly, with the amount of gel that you get from a doctor's office for the trays for like 500, I'm sure that in smaller towns, it's probably 300, but yeah. Okay. So my point is, if you've got like a 2 year supply of the 500 or 300, whatever you are, okay. And if you buy the Crest White strips, which obviously are a much lower concentration because people, Crest does not want people to burn their gums, and they're not customized to everybody's contour of their teeth, because no two people have the same contour, as where when you're getting custom trays, everything's custom made, so it fits your teeth identically. But what I'm trying to say is, if you think about buying 3 sets a year times 2, so 6 sets at, let's say, $60, that's the same thing as going to the dentist, and that you have better quality material.
And you're getting the right instruction too.
100%. 100%. Okay, so we talked about the teeth whitening a little bit there. And then I guess my next question is, what are some other opportunities that you have found that people can do to easily, enhance their smile that we might be missing the boat on?
I'm a big fan. I mean, I've been with Invisalign since they started in '99. I was one of the 5 that, got certified in New York. And I have to say that the biggest issue right now that I'm seeing, and Kelly, you're welcome to come in on this, is Invisalign lost their patents because it's been over 20 years, right? So now every Tom, Dick, and Harry decided I'm going to do my way. So there's Clear, there's so many others. So I decided to be a spy.
Okay.
And I have one right 2 blocks away from me. So I'm on Park and 27 and on 5th Avenue, and 28th, I have Clear Direct. So I walked in as a patient saying, not that I have crooked teeth, because I obviously sleep with my Viveras in. No, I walked in and I said, is there a consultation with an orthodontist? Nope, there's no orthodontist. I'm like, are there any dentists on the premise? No. And I'm like, okay, so who do I speak to? They're like, you don't. We have only assistants. They scan you, and then we'll send them to you home. And I'm like, but wait a minute, you don't have any orthodontists and you don't have any dentists. So who does the treatment plan? AI. So you're going to get a robot to do the treatment plan on somebody's teeth that they haven't seen, and they don't understand what the bite looks like and what the person's speech is all. I mean, there's so many elements.
So true.
So when you're doing Invisalign, people don't understand, and it's like, all due respect, it's every millimeter counts. And that is why, for me, in cosmetic dentistry, I wind up redoing, so not redoing as in fine tuning the patients that have had Invisalign that was not perfect, and then they went back to their old dentist and said, listen, this tooth is not 100%. And they're like, no, that's it. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Everything can be 100% with Invisalign. You just have to be patient and know and do the treatment plan yourself. Don't allow them to do the treatment plan for you. You have to do your own treatment plan. Anyway, so having said that Clear Direct nonsense, and now there's other ones. So all these other ones right now, if you read about it online, their lawsuit rates are through the roof because it's not working. There's no
What's
doctor.
the difference though, right? What's the difference between like what I have in the Invisalign and say these other things, aligners and some of the other things that I'm hearing? What's the difference?
Right. What you have in your mouth and what I have, somebody actually spent time and did the treatment plan. Virtually moved your teeth around until they were perfect alignment. They use AI.
Okay.
So it's not about, like, for us, when you have a dentist that like knows their orthodontics, or an orthodontist or myself, for us, we know we want to widen the arch. We want, and we want to rotate. Now you have to understand, these guys that are doing it for 3,000, because they also have, I don't think they charge more than 3,500. So for 3,500, you only get X amount of trays and that's it. So they don't really deal with malocclusion, rotations, and things like that. Like you're an open bite. I can see it from a mile away. That's why you got it, right? You had
Yeah,
an open
100%.
bite.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like I can diagnose you on Zoom.
Well, she diagnosed me on Zoom.
Yeah.
But the
It's
thing
gross.
is, it's when there is no one to be able to
Right.
see you. And I'm sure you're probably going to be with the rubber bands, or you are with the rubber bands to extrude and so forth and so on. That takes us working
Yeah.
to do that. And guess what? Surprise. What did you get? 30 trays?
Yes.
Okay. Well, surprise, you might need another 20. Okay. No, because the
Yeah,
teeth
because
may
they
not-
split them. They said they split them in half, like so you get some, and then of course you because I keep
right.
yeah.
Right. But what I'm saying is some teeth are going to move faster than others.
Yeah.
And you might have one or two that is just really stubborn. You're going to need a couple more trays. When you're doing something with these B class, okay, faux ortho, for a certain set fee, they're doing volume. They're not doing quality. And what you're going to get is how well can you look for the 20 trays. You're not going to get perfection. And that's something that's really important that has to be put out there. If you are someone that's looking for that ideal perfect smile, these other companies are not it. They just don't have the fine tuning in the software and the experience of the doctors who move the teeth around. It's an AI cannot move your teeth around like a doctor. It's the same thing. You can get a robot to do open heart surgery, but would you want to? Because I would rather get the 50-year-old guy who's been doing it for 30 years with loops and headlights.
100%. Okay, so I have to ask you because it was something that I even was talking to the ortho about myself. And is there a difference between someone in their 20s doing this and then someone in, say, their 50s? Because sometimes people think, oh, and I thought this too. I'm like, I'm too old. I'm too old to have
Absolutely
those.
not.
So yeah, and and I even said that to the person. I said, am I too old? Like, so just if you could talk a little bit about that to people who might be thinking, oh, I could never do that because maybe I'm too old or whatever. What would you have to say?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, in dentistry, nothing's too old. I mean, honestly, nothing. I had a 96-year-old patient who had in a wheelchair because he had really bad arthritis. And he comes in and he had really nice crown and bridge work done, but it kind of fell apart. And he said, listen, I don't want to wear a denture. I have money. I want to get implants. I want to eat steak the way I was accustomed to eating steak, right? So people would think 90, and this is the best analogy I can give you, okay, including for 96 years old, he got implants.
Good for him.
That's amazing.
And I made him, I made him teeth and he had steak. And, that was the best thing that you could do to someone. The same thing with Invisalign. I've done Invisalign on 65-year-olds. I've done it on kids that the orthodontist didn't fine tune. I've done it all. It's not a problem. It's just no one's too old. Everyone deserves a perfect smile. And more than anything, if you don't have the right alignment of the top and the bottom teeth, it's supposed to be like a gearbox, like my hands. If you're a little off or a little like this, like that, you're not chewing your food properly. I have a patient that's coming in on Tuesday. She's completely open, completely like what you had in the front. She's on the side and on this side as well. I'm like, how do you chew steak? She goes, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't eat beef. I don't eat lamb. I have to eat very soft. She's like, I can't chew it.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens. So she's 58. She's getting Invisalign. and I'm doing the open bite, the posterior open bite, I'm doing it with Invisalign and not with brackets. So I've done surgical cases where it was a class 3 that had an underbite. I flipped it with Invisalign. And I've done some really great things. And I was like a complete pioneer. And they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you did surgical cases non-surgically. Yeah, there's a lot you can do. You can do anything you want to do with braces, you can do with Invisalign. Do you need more time and patience? Yeah. And I have to tell you, if you are over a certain age, like if you're passing, I want to say 25 and you want to do Invisalign, it's actually better that you go slow instead of going fast. Because, you know, when you move a tooth, it has to eat the bone and then it has to rebuild the bone. So as we get older, it takes a little bit longer to rebuild that bone. So yes, they changed the protocol to once a week to change your trays, okay? But in a situation like yours, I would tell you, keep it at once every 2 weeks.
All right.
Go
Thank you.
slower.
This is
Go,
great.
you know, go
This is such
slower
interesting
than
information. This is
yeah, go
really
It's
slower.
gold. It's pure gold. It's amazing. Really, truly.
I just feel like that maybe, and I could be wrong. I just feel like when, you know, I have a dentist that I go to, he actually suggested Invisalign for me. And I did the same thing, Amy. I was like, nah, I'm too old for this. I'm used to the way it is. It's going to be a big change. And then when I talked to Dr. Pia, I'm like, hey, I'm not too old. I can actually, I can, depends on what your expectation is. So I think the point that I'm trying to make is know what your expectation is that you want. That's very realistic. And if you need to reach out to, you know, to Dr. Pia, do a Zoom meeting, right? You can do those, right? And then
Everybody can.
yeah, and then you could go, if you're not in New York, you can go to your local dentist. And by the time you go in there, you are going to have the information, the right questions, the information that you need to know. So you can make a decision, because you'll know what your expectation is. You're not going to go to an office and they'll say, well, we can actually do some veneers or some crowns on you if you really want that, you know, if you don't want to take the time, because that's actually, they can charge more money for it.
Right, but then that's where I get upset, and this is where the passion comes out, and I'm like, because if you do, so my expertise in what I'm really good at, because I am an artist, is I love to do as much veneers without drilling the natural tooth. So they're called prepless veneers, right? So that's like my thing. Like I'm the one doing that. That's what, you know, the men don't have the patience for it. I do. It's super thin. Anyway, long story. If you like what you had said, if you have slight rotation, slight crooked, and they want to do the veneers, they're going to have to file those teeth down. So you have to understand, go on Instagram and look at veneers made in Turkey and made in South America, and go look how they file down your teeth to nubs. Yeah, it's cheap, absolutely, but your teeth get filed down to nothing. And the only way that you can actually do the veneers with the proper alignment, if you don't have proper alignment, is to file them down. Why would you want to file your teeth down when you have the opportunity of getting Invisalign first? I tell every patient that comes in, if you let me, and if you're going to spend this kind of money on veneers, please spend a little more money. Let's do the Invisalign first, and then I can give you prepless veneers. I don't have to touch your teeth. I just pop them over. They're thin, they're strong, they'll never fall off.
Forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'll get 20,
Your
25 years out of it, and they're like, your teeth are naturally there, and we don't file down the first layer, the enamel that we were talking about earlier. If you're going to go and spend $40,000 on veneers, what's another 10,000 for not filing them and maintaining the natural tooth structure of your natural tooth? That's what I don't understand, when people are like getting into that nitty gritty of like, well, I want a quick fix. There is no such thing as a quick fix.
You know, I think in some people, they don't, maybe they're impatient and they've finally I'm talking from experience of somebody who I know, she's a dynamo. I love her dearly. She just decided to go in, and I'm pretty sure she went to a very well-known chain, and they advertised on TV, and she was like, I don't want to deal with all that. She's very, like, I don't want to be patient. I just want it now. I want a beautiful smile. I want the whitest teeth ever. There's a lot of people out there like that. And if they don't know what their choices are, guess what? They look like zazing, like the Pepsodent smile back with the little sparkle in the commercial, right? It's almost too much because it looks like choppers. They look like phony teeth because they are.
Oh, well, it's funny you say that because I call it, like, for me, I say that the teeth walk in before they do, but it's funny. I was watching Shaws of Sunset, right? And one of the guy went and got veneers done, and he got that toilet bowl white, right? And those were 3D printed because they're chalky, they're monochromatic, and they're the whitest toilet bowl white you can get. And everybody on the show made fun of him, that his teeth, they're like, whoa, your teeth are so white. But some people like that. I mean, I like to do very natural because I do a different type. I do handmade porcelain. I don't do the 3D printed. And with the 3D printed ones, you have to file your tooth. They have to file your teeth down. You cannot do 3D printed veneers without filing because they need to be a certain thickness. They can't be like the handmade ones can be 0.15 millimeters, which is less than a fingernail thickness. And I'm talking about a natural fingernail, not the fake ones. Just putting it out there because those are thicker. So having said that, it's like you have to know what you're getting. Yeah, you can find veneers from 2,000 to 4,000. The question is, which ones are right for you, and which one, if you want that toilet bowl white and you want to make everything bigger, okay, then that's what you get. But it all depends on what you want. Do you want everyone to know that you spent money on your teeth, or do you want people to think that you have a fabulous smile and you were born that way?
It's like a trend. That trend is now kind of fading. That people just don't really go for that look anymore, or maybe they're moving it away from that slope.
I hope so. I hope so.
But I hope so too, because that's why we're doing this. And that's why Amy's asking such great questions, because this is the kind of thing that if you don't know, you're just thinking what you've always wanted your whole life, and that's Pepsodent Smile. And you're going to go in and have, somebody take out all your teeth and put 4, implants on the top and 4 implants on the bottom, and then your teeth walk in before you do.
Right. And, and by the way, in Florida, I was just down there, and it's like, I see older people, and especially like men, because women take better care. I'm not being sexist, people. I'm just putting it out there. I just feel that women take better care of themselves in their 50s and 60s and 70s than men do. And men kind of just let themselves go. I'm getting old, and that's the end of it. Okay. So having said that, I see them when they've done the 3D printed, and they go for this white, and they're in their 60s. I'm like, oh, why? Why? Everybody needs to know that you've had your teeth done. I mean, maybe for some people it is a status symbol. I don't know. For me, because I'm in the industry, and it's like plastic surgery. You don't want anyone to know that you've had anything done.
I think natural is just so much easier to look at. And, I think whatever floats your boat, though, if you want those beautiful toilet bowl colored white and you want them big and round and, you've always wanted that, then go for it. But just don't go into an office without asking questions or doing your due diligence, or at the very least, call Dr. Pia.
Yeah, I love this so much, just for that purpose, because you had talked about maybe even having an opportunity to do consults or people reaching out and, talking about people's goals, with them and what they wish to achieve, and finding themselves into your office to have that relationship, that greater conversation.
Right. And, listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have such a large foreign
They travel.
They travel. I mean, I hate to say Kazakhstan is my furthest away. That's probably the most like, how did you find me?
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm sorry, how? We even got Iraq.
Well, I mean,
Rich Iraqis that
you know,
had
a
a
lot of
house in
celebrities.
London. And it's just crazy. I mean, but just look, I get it. I mean, London's, you know, Switzerland and France and you know, we have a lot of that, South Americans, but like Iraq and Kazakhstan, I'm like, really?
Really, it's you gotta love that. People who do their due diligence and their research are also compliant with what you tell them.
Correct. Correct.
So you're gonna have
That
a
is
great
a big
patient.
deal.
You'll always have a great patient that actually follows instructions. If they've found Dr. Pia, they've done their due diligence. And so we hope they find Dr. Pia through this, because she is one of our advisors. And always feel free to be able to, you know, reach out and ask the experts, because that's what we're about, is putting people in touch with the experts.
Yeah, and like write down the, you know, if people can write down their questions and like DM us, you and me and everyone else that's part of it, you know, these are going to be the topics that we can then discuss, that we can get from people that don't know how to address their concerns or how to take care of all of this. And I think that that's the future. I really do. I think that communication is key. And now that we've got Zoom and WhatsApp and FaceTime, that's not so great, but and Teams, and I don't want to leave anybody else out there because I'm sure there's other companies out there that do the same thing. But it's really important that we have this possibility of doing these Q&As, and it would be great if people would just write their questions. And by the way, no question is silly and no question is not worth asking. You get an answer and it just puts you at ease, and you don't walk around with having that in your head.
And I always want to find out what is the best way to go about something, whether it's buying a new car or, you know, getting, you know, some plastic surgery or whatever it is. It's knowing, so you don't feel like, oh man, I blew it. I really
Knowing before you go. Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have the internet, guys. This is such a game changer. You can find out anything you want.
Right. We have more than internet. We have Ask Us Beauty magazine, and that's our goal, is to really give out, you know, don't take our word for it. Ask around. You know, we have
absolutely.
Yeah, we have plenty of people that you can ask, but it's all about the age of transparency. And I think I'm 100% committed to it. And that's why, you know, I love having Amy on our team. And of course you, Dr. Pia, because there's absolutely, you don't really need to have the break between your brain and your mouth, because whatever comes out is always honest.
I know, but my mom did not say that when I was a teenager. She was like, oh God, you need to think before you speak because you always wind up getting your foot in your mouth. And I'm like, Mom, nah. I'm 40 plus years later, I'm like, haha, see, I was right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And by the way, my mom's an Aries, FYI.
Oh gosh, she's trying to tone you down.
Not gonna happen. You can't do that to a Taurus.
No, you can't really do it to an Aries either. I've learned as I've gotten older that I can think of, you know, what I want to say, and it comes out the way I want to say it instead of, you know, insulting somebody. But I really like the way Dr. Pia just puts it out there.
Love it.
It's this European.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it's European New York is what it is. It's just like, you know, you got this. So, you know, why are you thinking about doing that? And sometimes we all just need to hear the god-awful, honest,
unfiltered.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But, you know, is, again, it all comes back to education and learning. I did a podcast today that was so fun, and it was about, how to start a business, and we've all been there. And
Oh yeah.
one of the things that was said that really resonated with me is like, sometimes the advice that you give others is what you need to hear.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
And I was
you're so 100% right.
Yeah.
100% right.
But I got a woo-woo moment from that, like a little goosebump, because I was like, whoa, I'm my own like guru.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
We
you know,
have a lot to learn.
unfortunately, the biggest problem, Kelly, with that is I'm 1,000% with you on that. But I do a lot of self-help and spiritual learning throughout my life, and the biggest tip I can give everyone is you're 100% right with what you said, but you're in the movie. So you're part of the movie. If you can learn to pull yourself out of the movie and look at yourself objectively, like you were looking at somebody else, then you would be able to see your own.